So we're joined from the city of Clinton. Their Director of Therapeutic Recreation there, my friend Chandra Fontenot. We got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson. We're in the Human Services Career Cluster, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, Rosa Scott, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining us once again.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Now, obviously, we want to talk about the great program you have over there in the city of Clinton, unlike any other in the state of Mississippi, with all the different populations you touch.
Right.
But we need to talk about, your background and just the field of recreation therapy, one of the fastest growing fields in the United States. But you're from Hattiesburg High School, and went
hmm
to Southern Miss. So talk about your Southern Miss experience and what led you to kind of get into recreation therapy.
Well, I'm one of the very few people. I think I was the only person in my class who came to Southern majoring in therapeutic recreation. They call it a discovery major because most people
Okay.
don't know about it until they get
Yeah.
into the university. So had the pleasure of having an older sister who actually went to Southern Miss before me in the same field. But we kind of grew up doing a lot of community service and working with a bunch of different types of people, senior adults and people with disabilities. So I knew that I wanted to do something with that group, but I didn't know what that looked like until she went to school and she found it for me. So I didn't have to discover it later. I was able to just kind of piggyback on her. But we had a professor who was very passionate, who when we did our visits to Southern, he kind of talked about what therapeutic recreation was, and I was sold. In high school, I always worked with people with disabilities in my art class, so I would be able to go to the special needs class and bring them into my class and work with them one on one. So I just knew that that was something that I had a heart for. So when I found out what therapeutic recreation was, I was like, I'm sold. That's what I want to do. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing now in the population, or not necessarily the population, but the setting that I'm in. But I knew that I would
Absolutely.
work with those people. So therapeutic recreation is using recreation to help people develop skills and increase their quality of life. So normally you see that after a person has a traumatic brain injury or are born with a disability of some sort, whether it's physical or cognitive. So they use those skills to kind of get them acclimated to whatever surrounding they're going to enter into after they leave school or after they leave that rehab setting. So a lot of people are in a nursing home or in some type of clinical setting, but I'm in a community setting. So there's
Yeah.
not very many people in the state who can say that. So I'm fortunate to have
Absolutely.
the job that I have.
Yeah, and it's so cool. And recreation therapy is so diverse because you're dealing with people's, they're getting to be physical, they're getting to be social. It helps their mental well-being, their emotional well-being. And we were just talking before we started recording
Yeah.
about, I have a 97-year-old grandmother. Everybody has senior adults in their life. And I was like, if she, and she still, still has a great quality of life, and we're blessed for that. But I was like, a lot of these things could have really helped her before she got to where she was having mobility issues. It
Right.
really does help somebody's quality of life.
Mhm.
And Southern Miss was ahead of the ball,
They were.
noticing the need for recreational therapy. And Southern Miss and Jackson State are the only places in Mississippi where you can get this degree.
Right.
And it really is so fast growing and really needs a lot of talented people because, like we said, it's diverse. So if people have history of being an athlete, if they have a history of being an artist, it touches so many areas. And it's really, I have kids all the time say, well, I don't want to do that because it sounds boring. Well, this you're getting to do something different every day. You
Right. You
look at your
make it what
calendar
you
and you
want it
have a
to be.
variety of activities. You're doing art, you're doing games, you're doing events, you're doing parties. So it is so well rounded, and the way it takes a holistic approach at really helping the entire person.
I like to say that we're the fun people. We're helping them without them even realizing that they're being helped. Now they always get the benefits of the social engagement, especially our senior adults. They come here to find their new group. They're not working anymore. Their family moved away. So being here gives them that social aspect, and that really plays a part in your quality of life. The more you're isolated, the more those depression issues and anxiety, all those things become an issue for you. So the more that you're around people and surrounding yourself with new activities, doing things that you've never done before. We have so many people who have never worked out a day in their life, but we have 80 people who come to exercise on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We may be
Wow.
80 people. That's our most popular program. They'll come for the dances and the crafts and all that, but exercise is what they really show up for. So every Tuesday and Thursday, we have 70 to 80 people, and it's growing every quarter. We get more
That's
people coming
incredible.
in. So We really emphasize that physical fitness for our senior adults, but that socialization for them, as well as our abilities program for individuals with autism and Down syndrome and things like that too. So it's really important no matter what stage of life you're in.
Yeah, and that's why your program there in the city of Clinton not only is, I think, the only city in Mississippi that offers therapeutic recreation, but
Mhm.
on top of that, you're one of the only therapeutic recreation groups at all that deals with the senior adults and deals with the abilities program. And I know the challenger sports are getting more and more popular all over the country. But
Mhm.
just talk about that because it is so cool to see just the joy on people's faces. Because look, I've got a lot of athletes in here with me right now.
Yeah.
And I always tell them how blessed they are because everybody wasn't born with the ability to play sports like a regular person. But yet
Mhm.
they see it on TV, they see it on TikToks, and they're like, man, it'd be really cool if I could get out there and play a game sometimes. So
Yeah.
talk about that Challenger League, and you guys, you do soccer, you do football, you do basketball. So talk
Mhm.
about all the things you've done and just the way the community's really gotten behind you out there in Clinton.
Yeah, our program is unique in that we do serve the senior adults in the daytime, and then we have our abilities program in the evening. Our abilities program is mostly Challenger League sports, but we do have some like dancing and exercise for them as well. But we're unique in that it once you get out of school, we may have in Clinton we have life skills. So of course you're in class and you're surrounded by people, but you may not be able to play in those high school sports or those junior high sports. But we come in and fill that gap. So our program starts at age 6. Our oldest is, I think, 73. So our oldest is 73 and our youngest, I think he's 7 now, maybe 8. But we take anybody in that age range and we give them the opportunity to play sport. They may not have been able to do it in a rec league in the city or in their school, but we give them the chance to be included. We do have basketball, softball, which we're doing now at Traceway Park. We have bowling. We have soccer, and then we have inclusive kickball. Now, our kickball league is where we bring anybody who wants to play in. So we have 50-50 people with disabilities and people without disabilities. So they get their best friend or their uncle or their dad or mom or whoever they want to play with them to play, or either community volunteers can come in. We have people from the rec leagues and softball and soccer who help with our leagues every year. We always need volunteers, and it's great for the person just as much as it's great for the person participating in the sport, but that volunteer gets just as much out of it because having that one-on-one contact with somebody who's different from you, which may not be something you've ever experienced before, will change your perspective. A lot of
Yeah.
times you hear a person with disability and you think they can't do anything, but you see them hit that ball and it's going over the fence, or they're running as fast as they can and they can beat you any day, then it changes your perspective on how you view people with disabilities.
Yeah, and we'll definitely, before we get done, tell everybody how they can volunteer because I know you're always looking for great volunteers over there to help out. But that's a great point too, because my friend Alan Loving, who unfortunately had a spinal injury a few years ago, is paralyzed from the chest down. But he's gone out there and he's started playing tennis. So
Yeah.
there are so many, if we see somebody that's had an accident or born with a disability, and you're right. You may think, well, they probably can't do this. Well, what we don't understand as a regular people is they need exercise too. Just because
Mhm.
part of your body doesn't work
Right.
doesn't or work regularly doesn't mean the rest of your body doesn't need exercise.
Hmm.
Because a person that can't use their legs can still really build strength in their upper body. They can
Right.
still really build strength in mentally and socially. And like you said, those depression issues have been proven to
Yeah.
affect been proven to affect lifespan and affect other health issues. So it really does help people stay healthy as humanly possible. And we're seeing with the growth of recreation therapy, people with disabilities are living longer than they ever have.
Right. We have one person who her name's Esther. She's in a electronic wheelchair. She can't move her arms or her hands, or her arms, I should say. She can move her fingers, but she plays every sport that we do except for basketball. So it doesn't matter what you're able to do. Like I said, that social engagement is really important. She plays soccer, she plays softball. Somebody may
Wow.
hit for her, but she goes around the bases. She will block you with that soccer ball in a minute, and you're not gonna get it from you're not gonna get it from her when she gets in that chair. But it just doesn't matter what your abilities are. And a lot of times, I find that it's the parents that kind of sort of are the hindrance in a sense. They may look at it like, well, they can't do this because they're different. But once those parents open their eyes and they see that, let's give it a try. Now, some people just are not interested. It's not that they physically can't do it, but they may not have the attention span or the capacity to be in crowds and things like that. But just getting people out there and giving them a chance to try. You can never say what you can't do unless you try it.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is, um, the tangible rewards that somebody would get from being able to be a part of this field. Because like we said, I got a lot of athletes, a lot of kids say, well, I want to be a coach, and that's great. We need more great coaches, but this is the kind of sports you can play and you're not going to get fired for losing the game. You
Right.
can, at the end of the day, you're getting to do a sport that everybody loves, but at the end of the day, it's not about winning and losing and putting on a show for the crowd. It's about the people playing the sport actually getting
Right.
enjoyment out of it.
Right. Right. And we don't keep score. We keep scoring our kickball league, but we don't keep scoring anything. But I'll tell you, it's the small victories. If they kick that ball as hard as they can and they get on that base, that's their reward. We make sure that we encourage the engagement, not the whether or not you hit it the farthest or made the shot, but we encourage them to do as much as they can and just cheer them on no matter what their level is. So that's the it's just the sweetest thing ever. If you've never watched a Challenger League sport, it just warms your heart. If you can stand there and watch one of those games and not smile, then there's an issue there. So
Yeah, and at some point, I'm going to make a point to come out there and work with you guys. It's been a goal of mine. I know we both got crazy schedules, but I would love
yeah,
to be a part of it as well.
yeah,
Now, and the other cool thing about recreation therapy is you get to be creative. You get
hmm,
to say, "Hey, let's try this out. This is a new activity. Let's see if our population would like this." So, talk
yeah,
about that because for people that are creative, this could be a great area for them to kind of look
yeah.
at. Hey, I came up with this activity. Let's see if these people like it.
Yeah, I didn't know how many talents I had until I became a recreational therapist. But you literally get to try some of everything, anything you can think of, any sport, any game, any craft, anything. I think I pretty much tried it all. And it's nothing too small. And it's great that some of the things that we think don't matter much, like our small little social activities where we'll do a small team building activity. They think that that's the best thing ever. Like they get so much out of the smaller things, but you can use your creativity in so many ways, whether you're artistic or not. I've had interns come from Jackson State, from Southern Baton Rouge, all these different places, and they think that they're not creative and they think that they don't really have much to contribute, but they just come up with their own ideas. And you really, the sky's the limit with what you can do. It
Yeah,
really is.
and again, and we'll send everybody the website. That just the calendar you have for your Living Young program is incredible. It really is something for everybody because at the end of the day, we want our senior citizens to be engaged and have activities. Because I mean, how many times have we heard somebody say, "Man, my grandmother, she just gets so lonely." Well,
Yeah.
something like this could be something great for them. Now, before I get to their questions, because they've got me some great ones.
Okay.
What are some other areas that where recreational therapists are needed? I know mentioned you're there with the city of Clinton. We watched a short video about the VA. I know that our veterans are always needing
Mhm.
recreational therapy. But what are some other areas where recreational therapists and recreational therapy aides would be needed in this setting? Because, like we said, it's one of the fastest growing fields in the United
Yeah.
States.
Now, assisted living, nursing homes, people with Alzheimer's and dementia, those memory care units, those are always looking for certified therapists. And for some of those facilities, if they don't have a certified recreational therapist on staff, they contract. My sister is a contract therapist for some of those facilities because if they don't have a person who has that degree or has that background, then they have to pay somebody who does. So those are areas that are looking for that behavioral health, psych, rehab, all those types of settings are good places that you would be able to work. And I
Yeah,
actually did
and
my
I'm
internship at the VA before I came here. So
oh
at the
cool.
VA on the coast, not the one in Jackson. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it really it has a spectrum.
Yeah, and I know I got a couple friends over at Whitfield at Mississippi State Hospital that
Hmm.
work in
Yeah,
recreation therapy as well,
yeah,
with all kind of people dealing with drug addictions and things, and they
hmm,
get a lot of joy of that as well.
yeah.
But I do have some great questions here. I'm gonna get to
Okay.
as many of these as I can. This first one is Kelsey Slaughter. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players here,
Okay.
and she asked, "What is the most rewarding part of your job, and what is the hardest part about your job?"
The most rewarding part is just seeing the joy that comes from like I said, the smallest thing of just being able to experience being a part of providing that for them. So I know that's a broad answer, but it really is just the joy that you get from. I feel like I get just as much out of it as they do. The hardest part is um my personally not being able to please everybody. That's one thing. You're never going to be able to please everybody, but I'm one of those people who tries my best to do that. So, trying to do larger groups for multiple different personalities, multiple skill levels, and making sure everybody is included and enjoying themselves. That can be difficult. So I would say those two things.
That's awesome. Now, and that's a great segue to this question. This is Shania Willis. She's
Okay.
in 10th grade, one of our basketball players, and on our track team here. And she asked, what is the hardest part about building trust with your participants who may feel nervous or scared?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Um, I'll go for the abilities program specifically. Some of them have, I'm a touchy person. Like I want to come and pat you on the back and give you a hug when I see you. And some people are not because of sensory issues. So that
Yeah.
has been difficult knowing or learning which ones are not the ones who are the one you can high five or even fist bump. Just kind of learning the personalities of the different people, even though my nature is to come in and go for a hug or give you a high five, but they may reject you and not taking it personal. You have to kind of remove yourself from those situations in a sense.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to mention you also deal with for our kids that are bilingual. There's a need for bilingual people in recreational therapy.
Hmm.
Huge need for people that can sign.
Yes.
My sisters have learned to sign, and it's amazing how much they've been able to use it. So if
Hmm.
anybody that has can learn sign language or know sign language, any
Hmm.
Spanish speakers or any other language, big need
Yeah.
for that
Yeah.
in this field as well.
I try to
I
teach my
love this.
daughter as much as I can with sign language, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the younger they are, the easier it is.
Right.
When we get old is when we get stupid. I love this question here. This is Corbin Smith. He's in 10th grade, one of our choir members on the archery team. And he asks, what is one thing that you wish people understood more about this field?
That everybody needs it.
Yeah.
And that it's not just for with the stigma that comes along with seniors in particular. They think frail on a walker can't do anything for themselves. You need to feed them their food. That's what a lot of people think when they hear the word
Yes,
senior.
absolutely.
So I'll have 75-year-olds come in here and say, I guess I'll join these old folks. They're 75, but they don't consider, so I really want people to understand that just because the word senior is attached to it, it does not mean disabled or unable to do anything. There are people who come to this program who can run laps around this building and dance better than me, exercise longer than me, all of that. And they're 30, 40 years older than I am. So that's one thing I wish people understood is that it doesn't mean that you are unable to do anything for yourself or you're debilitated. That's not who we serve. We serve everybody. Literally, I need therapeutic recreation. Anything that you do for enjoyment that brings you purpose, that brings you happiness, that improves your physical functioning, your cognitive, your spiritual, your all of that. That's therapeutic recreation, even if you're not in a setting where it's being provided for you.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too, because another area of therapeutic recreation we're seeing is dealing with the children of patients.
Hmm.
You see a lot, unfortunately, we have people that have terminal illness and their kids are having trouble dealing with it.
Hmm.
And these therapeutic recreation folks are coming in and working with the child that's
Right.
not even sick, but they're helping them
Mhm.
deal with and get their mind off of their seeing their mom or dad in a hospital bed.
Absolutely. Any major life change has the a process that you have to go through. And therapeutic recreation can help with that. If you're moving to a new place, you're losing all your friends as a child. You're losing all your friends. When you get to that new place, you may need therapeutic recreation, which is anything that is recreational that brings you purpose, that improves your quality of life. So it's for everyone. It's not just something that people in the hospital or people in a nursing home or people with autism or Down syndrome need. It's for everybody. It really is.
Now, I got time for two more, and I love this question. This is Caleb Vaughn. He's in ninth grade. And I think this is interesting because, like we said, you guys are the only city park and rec, deal that puts
Mhm.
on this type of program. And he
Right.
asked, how did this program start and did you start
Okay, so that's a loaded question in a sense. I've been here since 2007. The program itself started in 2003 for the seniors and 2005
it?
for the
Wow.
abilities program. So what it was in '07 when I got here is nowhere near what it is now. I didn't start the program. It started under Parks and Recreation, but I did developed the department, which started in 2015. So the department in itself is separate from Parks and Recreation officially in 2015. So yes, I started the department, but no, I didn't start the program.
Wow.
But we just had a mayor who had a vision to see the difference between recreational sports for all the community and special needs and senior adult activities. And he saw fit to separate those two departments from Parks and Rec to Therapeutic Rec and Parks and Rec. But we work together. We're sister departments, so we do a lot of things together, but we have completely different purposes.
Yeah, and I know Mayor Will Purdy does a great job over there and has continued that vision that you guys have because he's seen the
Yeah,
success. But it's
yeah.
really,
And he's a
really
great
cool to see
supporter.
yeah, to see a city get behind something like this is unheard of. And I just wish more cities were able to do something like this. But I think this brings awareness to why it's needed.
Mhm.
I think other cities will start to see the success and catch on. I got one more. This is Jaheim Reed. He's in 10th grade. Unbelievable singer on our choir member, and he wants to be an artist. But he asked, how long did it take you to really feel like you were doing the best you could at this job?
Another good question. I was literally 2 months out of college when I started here. So it was a definite learning curve. And I mentioned earlier that I never thought I would be in a community setting because that's not something that was really shown
Yeah,
to us much. In other
yeah,
states, absolutely. Louisiana, Texas, Florida, all of those places, you see it in community settings a lot, but not in Mississippi. So it took me a while to understand that I didn't have to do things the way that it had always been done. Like I said, when we were here, when I started, there was not very much to do. There were maybe two special events, five regular scheduled programs aside from card playing for the seniors, and then some of those sports. So it took a few pushes from the people in the programs to say, okay, we want this, but also me asking for feedback. Like, if I started this, would you come or would you want to do this? So it kind of took some trial and error and learning that just because you try something one time and it may not turn out the way that you wanted it to, it doesn't mean that it failed. If you try it again and keep tweaking it and change the things that you see need to be changed, and now we've grown to what we have. So if I had stopped, we started this exercise class with 6 people and now we have 80, and I never thought I would see double digits, let alone 80 people. So it
awesome.
just takes confidence in yourself, I guess.
Yeah, and I know when you guys have planned trips, they fill up immediately, and you
Mhm.
guys have had to actually before had to get an extra bus because you had so many people wanting to go.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
but that just goes to show why it's so needed and why people need to be around other people and have those social skills. And and COVID really showed us why we needed that, and you guys have done a
absolutely.
great job of making that available. Well,
Thank
we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. This is just such a
you.
cool program. But a couple
Thank you
things
for
before
your
we go.
time.
First of all, like we said, you guys are always needing volunteers
Hmm.
in your talent in your abilities program. So if kids are wanting to volunteer for get some community service later on, how would they go about doing that?
First of all, our Challenger League sports are usually on Monday nights. Typically Mondays. Bowling will be a little different this year. We'll be on Thursdays, but Mondays at 6 p.m., which I think is a good time. But you can email me at cfontenot, so it's CFONTENOT at clintonms.org, or you can give us a call at the office at 601-924-6387, and we'll be glad to get you hooked up. You can follow our Wood Center page on or Wood Activity Center page on Facebook as well.
Yeah, and even if somebody doesn't want to be a recreational therapist, it would just look, you would get like we said, the tangible rewards, being able to make a difference in the community, and then just being able to have that community service to show that you can work with multiple types of populations. Which brings me to what I wanted to wrap up with is this is a field that desperately needs diversity because our communities are diverse.
Hmm.
So no, like we said, we need Spanish speakers, we need women, we need men, we need people that played sports, we need people that didn't play sports.
Yeah.
We need all skin colors of people to get into this. So as these kids are, in high school now and making decisions for what they want to do, why should they really consider getting into this field? Because it's, like we said, it's fast growing and needs a lot of talented people in it.
Yeah, if you're a person who has a heart for others, if you have a servant heart or a servant leadership heart, I believe that therapeutic recreation is the perfect place. I've had a lot of people who go into nursing or kinesiology or those types of fields or occupational therapy, and then they switch over to recreational therapy
Wow.
because of the population that you serve and the change that you're able to make. And you really can see those changes and those benefits immediately during those programs. So if you have a heart to serve and you want to have intrinsic motivation and see the benefits of your work, then that is the perfect field.
Love to see it. Well, again, thank you so much for fitting us in your busy schedule. Just such a great program over there at the City of Clinton. My friend, Chandra Fontenot, Director of Therapeutic Recreation at the City of Clinton over there at the Wood
Thank
Activity Center.
you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.